In this video, I'll be focusing on a really important aspect about recovery and how to get a patient from acute illness to recovery. In psychiatric illness, we look at the illness in three phases. There is the acute phase, the phase of partial remission, where there are some residual symptoms present, then complete remission, where the majority of the symptoms have subsided, and then of course from complete remission to recovery. Now, key aspects that's necessary for the person to reach complete remission and recovery is motivation. Motivation is a really important predictor of recovery. One of the common things that comes up, patients often say, I don't feel like getting outside the house. I don't feel like doing any exercise. So they talk about the feeling aspect, but let's look at what motivation actually looks like and whether it's actually a feeling. For motivation, there are some key areas that we need to focus on. And there's one crucial neurotransmitter, which is dopamine. Dopamine neurons originate in the brainstem. They then project to two important areas. One of them is called the nucleus accumbens, which is the reward pathway. And then you have the striatum, where movements are controlled. And these projections then move to the frontal cortex. And the frontal cortex is a really important part of the brain that helps us in making decisions, planning, sequencing, detecting errors, judgment, insights, essentially doing day-to-day tasks efficiently. So therefore, when we think about motivation, what we essentially have to do is to think about this as a tank, a machine. So what we've done as part of treatment is we've filled the tank, and that includes the neurotransmitter dopamine. What we have to do after that is to lubricate these key areas with dopamine. Now, this doesn't happen without action. So the most important step here is action. And that's why cognitive behavioral therapists will often use the term behavioral activation. Because with behavioral activation, we have dopamine being released in these key areas and lubricating these pathways that involve a number of mental and physical functions. So therefore, what we get is action leads to motivation. And that happens because the tasks that we do will lead to positive reinforcement and will act on this reward pathway, making us feel good. It's for this reason when individuals exercise, they'll often at the end of the exercise session say, I feel good about it. That's because the reward pathway is feeling good about the whole thing. And that's all to do with dopamine. So essentially we end up with a loop where we want action, which leads to motivation, which then leads to further action because the reward pathway has been activated.